Hello and welcome to the IB Times UK Facebook page and our Facebook Live, where we're talking all things veganism for World Vegan Day on this, the 1st of November. It's the 22nd World Vegan Day.
It is.
We are in Karamel in Wood Green, and I'm joined now by Louise Wallis, who is the former president of the Vegan Society and the creator of World Vegan Day.
I am indeed.
Thank you very much for joining us. Tell us about the creation of World Vegan Day. How did it come about?
Well, when I was president of the Vegan Society many years ago, back in 1994, we were celebrating the Society's 50th birthday at that time. So we wanted to sort of come up with something special to mark this special occasion. And I can't remember exactly where the idea came from. I think it was just one of these aha moments. And I suddenly thought, hey, why don't we create a sort of global day, a celebration, where we can mark World Vegan Day every year, and vegans around the world can celebrate. And it is something that just will grow and get bigger.
And it's already grown in length and become Vegan Month, is that right?
That's right, yes. So the Vegan Society now run World Vegan Month, so we celebrate World Vegan Day. But it also, the Vegan Society celebrates World Vegan Month, and people are encouraged to try veganism for a day or a month and see how they get on.
If you haven't tested it out before, it's a good time to try it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, but the date, 1st of November, has a little bit of significance as well.
Yes, back in 1944, when the Vegan Society was set up, was established, their very first meeting was sometime in November. We knew that it was in November, but we didn't know the exact date. But we wanted to sort of, if I was going to set up World Vegan Day, I thought that is the day to do it. And so in the end, I just thought, why don't we go for the 1st of November, because we didn't know the exact date of that meeting at that time, because it's easy to remember. And I like the idea of it being quite close to the other festivals, so like Day of the Dead, Halloween. These are often traditional feasting times. So I like the idea of the day sort of following on from a period of feasting. It seemed very sort of apt to me.
It's a day for eating.
Yeah, absolutely.
So getting on to the eating, what are the benefits of veganism? Why should people try it out?
Well, the benefits of veganism are on many levels, really. I mean, the main motivation is to not harm animals. This is what veganism is about. It's a philosophy of compassion, really, extending our compassion to include other living beings as well as other human beings. But what's been discovered over the years, as more and more people have practiced veganism, is that it's actually extremely beneficial to health. So it can help with things like heart disease by reducing sort of cholesterol. There's more and more research sort of happening all the time. It's very good with type 2 diabetes, which is the type of diabetes that you can develop as an adult. Not type 1, type 2 diabetes. So that can actually be reversed by following a sort of a healthy whole food vegan diet. And more research is being done all the time on the benefits of eating a sort of plant-based diet. And often that can include things like if maybe you feel kind of overweight and you want to lose some weight, going vegan can sometimes help you with that. It doesn't always apply to everyone. There are some sort of larger vegans out there as well, because there's plenty of vegan junk food if you're into that too. But it really has a good effect on your mental health as well. I think it's important to say that, because there's a kind of feeling of well-being that accompanies going vegan. And a general feeling of kind of sort of lightness of sort of spirit and heart.
Would you say that's because of what you were saying about it being a compassionate lifestyle, or is that?
Yes.
because of the diet you're taking?
I think it's a mixture of both. So, because it's also known that by improving your diet, that can have a very beneficial effect on your mental health as well as your physical health. So it's a mixture of those two things: the fact that you're improving the quality of your diet by going vegan, and also because if you're doing it for compassionate reasons, which I would say most vegans are, then you're also feeling that lightness of spirit because you know that you're not contributing to the exploitation and harm of other animals.
And another reason some people choose the diet is for environmental reasons as well.
Yes, that's right, because animal based diets are actually use an incredible amount of resources. If you think about eating plants, essentially they are taken sort of direct from the earth. Whereas if you are eating animal protein, first of all you have to feed plants to animals, to create meat or milk or eggs, and then so you're using a lot more resources in this, and by being vegan, you're cutting out that part where you're having to. A lot of soya, for example, that's produced in the world is actually used to feed farm animals. So we could actually use it to feed hungry human beings if it wasn't being, used to feed farm animals. But yes, also animal agriculture is extremely sort of polluting in terms because when you feed animals, they are going to produce lots of waste and a lot of really noxious kind of waste that often they don't really know, it's so much waste it's difficult to kind of cope with, and often in the process it leads to pollution. It's people who live near some of these very large factory farms, often complain about the smell from them. So, we say just get rid of them, really. Go vegan. Get your food first hand. Don't recycle it through an animal, wasting precious resources, and enjoy all the wonderful health benefits at the same time.
If you're just joining us now, this is the IB Times UK Facebook page and our Facebook Live, where we're talking all things veganism for World Vegan Day. I'm joined by Louise Wallis, the former president of the Vegan Society and the creator of World Vegan Day. There's been would you say there's been a surge in popularity of veganism lately?
I would indeed, yeah. I think in the last 3 years, it seems to kind of have exploded. And we've really noticed a lot more coverage in the media, and more interestingly, a lot more sort of sympathetic coverage in the media. And what's really encouraging, I think the Vegan Society have done some research into this and elsewhere. It's really a lot of young people who are becoming vegan who seem to connect with the arguments kind of much more easily than, say, people of my generation. So younger people are very receptive, and we actually find it here at the restaurant. We were a bit nervous when we first opened because we didn't know, how we would be received by sort of general people sort of wandering in. And in fact, when we, the fact that it's a vegan restaurant comes up in the conversation. If it's a young person, you can guarantee they'll be like, really? Wow, that's brilliant, And yeah, so one thing we've discovered through running the restaurant actually is to let go of our fears about, what might people think, will they come, everything. Actually, it's the opposite. People are really interested in this at the moment, and especially young people. So that's really encouraging, and we're really happy that we've done it.
We've got a question from Facebook from Paul Wright asking, what's the best and worst thing about being a vegan? I feel like we've covered a lot of the benefits. Are there any downsides?
I guess the downside, and vegans sort of often talk about this, is the sort of social aspect sometimes, because if you are a kind of like, if you've turned vegan on your own and no other member in your sort of extended circle of friends or other family members are vegan, sometimes, quite often, you can be, they'll rib you about it, not realising that actually it's quite sort of, it's quite hurtful to that person when you do that, because they're actually talking, their reason for going vegan is to try and stop really horrific violence, that is meted out to animals, farm animals in particular, who are treated particularly badly compared to other animals. So what people don't realise is when you're ribbing a vegan, actually it's a very sensitive issue, because somebody's doing this, for a really good reason, and it's because they're pretty upset by what they've often seen online, which is the way that animals are slaughtered or raised in factory farm conditions. And they feel, very deeply about that. So I think those things can be difficult. If you find yourself a bit isolated, if you're in a family where everyone's sort of not remotely sympathetic and you haven't got any friends who are vegan, you can find yourself a bit lonely. So it's important to sort of reach out, I think, on social media, to make connections with other vegans, perhaps meet up with other vegans, to get that support. Because if you can't get it from your immediate circle or family, then you can certainly get it from other vegans who are always willing to be there. There's a really strong sense of community, and we're all really happy to help and support each other.
So we were talking about the surge of popularity. I think a lot of people maybe see it as a bit of a fad as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of quite expensive food out there that's branded as being vegan. And so we have a question, another question from Facebook from Katie Marie Bradley, saying, do you find it expensive to eat vegan?
I personally don't. I think it's really interesting because this issue, because actually one of the reasons that it kind of appears that sometimes vegan food can seem expensive is because milk and animal products, especially milk and the dairy industry, are given massive subsidies by the EU and by the UK government that makes them artificially low in price. So it's not really a fair comparison. The problem is that consumers don't realise that. They think, a pint of milk, costs the same as or costs less than, say, a pint of soya milk or whatever. But actually, if you took the government subsidy out, that milk would be much, much higher. So first of all, I would say it's a completely unfair comparison, because animal agriculture is so subsidised already, and we would ask that those subsidies be removed immediately because of the environmental sort of and other benefits we've been talking about, so that we can all benefit from those. So then vegan, those same subsidies could actually be put to vegan foods, or raising and rearing vegetables instead, and then you'd get a fairer comparison. Maybe some products at the moment will seem more expensive, but I think as time goes by they will get cheaper and cheaper as demand increases. The prices will come down. The other reason is, like, often vegan foods, they're often real quality foods as well. They're not cheap, some of them are mass produced, but I would say, as a generalisation, the quality is often really good, much better than other products that you might find that aren't vegan.
So maybe with Brexit, are we going to find more vegans? And people are going to push towards it more?
I hope so, I really do.
We got another question from Facebook from George Bilkinson. Where do you get your protein from? Which I'm sure is a question you're asked fairly often.
It's a standing joke with vegans. Where do you get your protein from? I'd like to, to say that this is a complete myth. When I was sort of growing up at school, we learnt about the 4 food groups, and what we're realising now is that this is all kind of a nonsense, and that was just sort of information that was put out at that time, and it was often put out by people who had an interest in animal agriculture. So they were wanting to promote their products, and this is why at one stage years ago children were actually given free milk, as they went to school. But the protein myth, it really is a myth. A vegan diet actually has the optimal amount of protein, because protein isn't, just in meat and milk and animal products. It's in actually pretty much every food. And when you're eating a vegan diet, you're getting protein from lots of different sources. And in the West, actually, we suffer from a real overconsumption of protein, and this is what leads to many health problems, is because we're eating too much of it. Our bodies aren't designed, for the amount of protein that we're eating, because we're eating such heavy sort of meat and milk-centered diets. So actually, going vegan naturally regulates the amount of protein that you eat, and you automatically become healthier because the body isn't overloaded and having to sort of try and cope with all this extra protein that you don't need. So, total myth.
If you're just joining us now, this is the IB Times UK Facebook page and our Facebook Live, where we're talking all things vegan for World Vegan Day. If you have any questions you want to put to Louise Wallis, the former president of the Vegan Society, then please do comment on this video. There's been some controversy in recent months, particularly in Italy, about vegan parents who are giving the diet to their children, with some people saying that the children aren't getting the right kind of nutrition. Do you think it's a bad diet to give to your children? Are people getting this wrong?
Yeah, I think they are kind of getting it wrong. I think this is just complete sort of people being kind of misinformed about what veganism is about. Every baby really is vegan when they're born. They drink their mother's breast milk, which is the sort of natural milk that children should be drinking, not cow's milk, which isn't so good for the human body because cow's milk is designed for baby calves. So humans, ideally you would have sort of breast milk as a baby. So first of all babies are naturally vegan. I'd like to point that out in the first place if they are kind of breastfed. And then, as you know, all parents, especially first-time parents, are going to kind of be worried that they're doing the right thing, for their child. But the vegan diet is actually a really good diet for babies and children. I think, maybe pay a little bit more attention to what you're feeding your children. But I think I sort of said to you earlier when we were sort of chatting before the interview started, I want to know why nobody's sort of complaining about all the parents who are sort of taking their kids to McDonald's and feeding them Happy Meals all the time, or bringing up children on a diet of microwave meals, Why is no one banging on about this? I think there's been a few isolated cases which are supposedly related to sort of parents bringing up their children as vegan, but as far as I can tell, it's not really that they're bringing them up on a vegan diet. It's more that they've embraced a more kind of extreme, either sort of raw food diet or other kind of diet where the child has got malnourished. But I would say that is not related to a vegan diet. And there's vegans from birth, we call them VFBs, who it always amazes me when they come and introduce themselves. Oh, hi, I've been vegan all my life. My parents are vegan and, I was born vegan. There's plenty of examples now of vegans kind of all over the world, happily bringing up children who are perfectly healthy, and in fact probably healthier than the average child, because, as we say, you tend to get a healthier balance of nutrients compared to the average child who might be eating a lot of processed food and, as I say, maybe going to McDonald's too many times a week.
So, as it is World Vegan Day, and you want people to be testing a new vegan dish tonight, a lot of people are worried about that transition into starting to bring veganism into their cooking. I think it might be quite difficult. We have one question from Abbas Rizzi, who asks, is it true that cooking at high temperatures the nutrition of vegetables is lost?
I think that applies to kind of a lot of food, actually, cooking at high temperature. We don't really, here at the restaurant, we don't really get sort of hung up on temperature or anything. You can steam vegetables, which means that they retain more of their nutrients. So instead of boiling vegetables, you might want to steam them. But I wouldn't say that that's a particular issue that sort of relates to vegans, really. There's certainly sort of no loss of nutrition as a result of I don't know, boiling your vegetables until they're a mush.
Is it a hard transition to make for if you're cooking all the time and you want to move into veganism, you might be worried about what you're going to substitute things for?
Yeah. Well, what I would say is it's good to kind of remember we specialise in world food here, and a lot of the traditional dishes from around the world, especially the ones that we use here, just happen to be naturally vegan anyway. And think about chips from the chip shop. Think about beans on toast. You're already eating lots of vegan food, but perhaps not necessarily thinking, oh, this is a vegan meal. So first of all, I would say that. Secondly, it's not really that difficult. And although veganism is sometimes sort of seen as somehow restricting your diet, what vegans find, or when you go vegan, you often find it's the opposite, because suddenly you kind of a whole new world of food is opened up to you, and there's this fantastic opportunity to experiment and invent your own recipes. There's plenty of vegan recipe books out there as well. We're going to be doing a recipe book one of these days when I can find the time. But yeah, I would recommend, if you're at all sort of nervous about it, just go and get any of, there's loads of recipe books sort of online and in shops now as well. So if you need some reassurance, go there. Otherwise, there's lots of videos online, YouTube videos, vegan chefs galore, really. So I'd say go and experiment and have fun, enjoy it, because it is fun.
Have you got maybe a favourite meal that you could tell people to go out and try tonight?
Have I got a favourite meal? Well,
or just something particularly delicious that you think might change people's mind about veganism?
Yes. I would say our Sunday roast, actually. Every Sunday here we do a vegan roast dinner, and it's one of the most popular sort of days that we have here at the restaurant. It's become an institution now. And all we do there, we do the Sunday roast, with all the trimmings. So you've got roast potatoes, parsnips, and as many vegetables as you can imagine. And at the centre of it, instead of like a meat, whether it, beef or something, we have a nut roast Wellington. So it's it's got a nut roast centre, and it's surrounded by pastry, and then it's covered in this lush gravy, because we make our own vegetable stock here, especially for the gravy. So really rich gravy, and people are just, can't get enough of it. They come back week after week, and I would say that is a really good way or good meal to turn someone on. I challenge anyone to come here and have Sunday roast and not enjoy it. It's just delicious.
And people can come here tonight as well. There's an event for World Vegan Day?
Yes, that's right. Yes, we have an event here tonight celebrating World Vegan Day and the start of World Vegan Month. So yeah, if you are in North London tonight and you're at a loose end, feel free to come along. We'll be doing delicious food, all kinds of there'll be like different dishes on the menu, sweet potato curry, things like that. And we've got some delicious cakes and desserts as well. There's no reason to miss out on a vegan diet whatsoever.
That all sounds pretty fantastic to me.
Okay.
Thank you very much for joining us, Louise.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you guys for watching. As ever, check back to ibtimes.co.uk for all the news.